viewers, and welcome to Get Well, Stay Well with my name, Cyrus Fernando, and Felicity. How are you doing?
It's a wonderful day, isn't it? Our 12th birthday, and I'm so excited because, as I was just saying, 12 years ago, you know, I was dying of pancreatic cancer. I was a viewer watching at home, thinking what a wonderful new program. And so really I got well watching Revelation TV, and now I have the great honor to be here all through God's diet, through God getting me well, praying under my tallit, and that's why I'm wearing it today, because I think it's so important to give all the glory to God. Yeah. Going back to God's diet, and that is getting thousands of our viewers well as well.
And that's what Revelation is doing. It's giving a platform really in order to just spread the word, educate some of our viewers who might not be familiar with maybe the damage that they're doing to their health by eating the wrong foods, and changing that to eat the right foods. Because many of us, including myself, and I think you'll also agree, that we went through many years of our life just eating and being completely unaware what damage we were doing to our health.
That's right, and I trained as a nurse as well, and you know, we were never told the right things to eat. We were never warned about the dangers of sugar, of the wrong fats, of the wrong salts, and so just had to learn all this ourselves.
Excellent. What is today's subject, Felicity?
Well,
what are we
we're going to start with skin brushing. We're going to talk about skin brushing because a lot of the viewers are on the juicing, a special feasting or fasting, but anyway, they're on juices. And juices are part of this. The other part is doing the colonics, washing out the body, and really eliminating all the bad things that have accrued over many years. And skin brushing is another little thing to put in there, because our skin, as you know, is the largest organ of elimination. So we lose pounds of dead cells through our skins. And most people are blissfully unaware of that. They have a quick shower and they think they've washed themselves. Exactly, yeah. But what we do is this amazing skin brush here. So you start with the feet, you work up the legs, you do the whole body, and for the face, you obviously don't use that, but you can use a little brush like that.
Before you give the whole thing away, Felicity, let's take a look at this next VT.
Let's do that.
And this is talking about skin brushing. Let's take a look.
Hi everybody, it's Ashley from Ashley's Green Life, and today's green tip is dry skin brushing. I'm going to show you how I do it and reasons you might want to do it. I learned about dry skin brushing from my all-time favorite health idol, Chris Carr, and in her movie, the documentary Crazy Sexy Cancer, and her books that followed. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. You brush your skin with like a little brush here, but she went on and on about how it can help you with detoxing, it can reduce cellulite, and just make your skin nice and smooth. So I'm going to show you today how to do that, and the only thing you're going to need is a little brush here. Mine came with like the little stick attached to it, and you can find those at any health food store, and it's pretty simple. Just you want a natural kind of bristle, and I know some people even do it with like loofahs or those like, oh, you know, exfoliating gloves. That can work too. So it's pretty simple. You just need your little brush, and you're going to do the skin brushing. It basically is something kind of like this all over your body. They say to do it, let's see, probably one time a day in the morning, and then before you take a shower. Ideally you would do it without your clothes on and in the shower, because that way you don't have any clothes covering you up, and whenever you do all the brushing, all the dead skin will just fall into the shower and wash away. But for today's purposes, I'm going to show you it here. And basically you just are going to, one of the most important things is you're going to start low at your feet, and you're going to work in an upward motion towards your heart. You're basically stimulating something called your lymph system. You're going to help that circulate, which is going to help you detox and remove all those things from your skin and that your body's been collecting. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start down low at my feet, work my way up, and you'll see I'm moving in forward, like upwards towards my heart stroke. So let's see. I'm going to start down here at my feet. And when you brush, I just brush till it's comfortable. I'm not trying to like make it to where my skin is red or anything like that, but you know, to where you feel it enough. Just kind of work your way up. Get to the top of your leg. I just kind of do one side at a time. I get all around my leg, in the inside part, the outside. Ladies, it's great for back of the leg, booty there. Okay, scrub it all. All right, so I'm going to move to the next side. Start down low at the feet again, and then just kind of work your way up. You can make this take longer or make it short, whatever works for you. Work my way up the leg again. I make sure I get the back too. And as you can see, I'm doing that forward, the upward motion towards my heart. That's important. You always want to be moving towards the heart, not away from the heart. So that's kind of the main rule. Next, I move on to my stomach, so sorry if it's TMI, but I want to show you how it's done. And I'm going to move it, again, the forward motion up to my heart. Some people say you can do like circular motions, which I do that too sometimes. You can kind of go like this, but I kind of like the upward motion towards the heart, so that's another good one for skin brushing. And now I'm going to move on to my arms, which this one is my favorite one. I don't know, it just feels the best to me. So I'm going to start on one side and work my way up. One area that I really hit is under my arm. That seems probably really strange, but you have some lymph nodes there, and sometimes mine get swollen, so I feel like that's my body's way of, you know, fighting something off. So I kind of help it by doing my skin brushing and making sure to really get that area. It's lovely. So now that I've got one side, I kind of bring it around, and now since we are in the upper body, we're going to be going down. So I'm going to go down towards my heart this time and switch to the other side. So yeah, you could make this long, short, whatever works for you in your time schedule. I do it right. I work out every morning, and I do it right after I get done working out, before I get in the shower. So pretty simple. I just have trouble remembering to do it. It's the hard part. So sometimes.
Hi viewers, and welcome back. It's just something new. We've never really discussed skin brushing before, have we, Felicity?
Well, that's right, you know, but it's the most wonderful thing. And when you start skin brushing, you start with the feet. As we all know, football boots, smelly. We sweat out a lot of toxins through the soles of our feet, the 2,000 large pores in the soles of our feet. So when you start scrubbing away and then you're in the shower, it's a good idea to do it in the shower, because then you can shower all that dead, the little flakes. You can get rid of the whole thing as you're in the shower. So much better than doing it in the room, where you're going to have flakes all over the place. You know, when we see dust in a room, yes, very often it's from our skin. That's a shocking thought, isn't it? Yeah. So out with the duster, and definitely on with the skin brush, and start at the feet, work the way up. And you really, she was talking about going towards the heart. In fact, you want to go towards the lymph glands from a medical point of view, because the body drains from the lymph through those glands. So there's plenty in the groin, there's plenty in the armpit. And so you want to get the lymph moving towards those areas so that they can drain. And of course, we never want to have our lymph glands removed, because they're like policemen in the body, stopping cancer or other infections moving from place to place. So the lymph is very important, and we are really learning about brushing and getting rid of all the dead skin cells. You know, we sweat, and we also exude a lot of toxins through the skin. So when you get on the green juice and the wheatgrass, in fact, the sweat doesn't smell anymore. Yeah. Which is really interesting, because you deodorize the body with the chlorophyll. And so as we purify, we start to really notice a huge difference. We lose weight because we're losing toxicity. You know, the weight is not just fat, it's toxicity in the body. So as we lose that, we do the colonics as well, with the famous colonic kit, which is really helping so many people. I've had so many emails this week with people starting on the colonics now, and then do the skin brushing. So we're starting to do this detox in a multifactorial way.
It's like we say we're doing a lifestyle change. It's so many components are involved in that. We're not only talking about juicing, we're not only talking about colonics, not only talking about exercise. There are so many components, and now skin brushing is another one to add in there to really look after our overall health.
That's right. So it's really important to put everything together, and taking exercise, of course, as well. So you start by walking or running or playing football or whatever you're going to do, dancing, you know, we often feature a dance video because it's really important just to get the body going. So we're getting the circulation going, we're getting the lymph drainage going. And of course you can go and have a massage as well, which is a really good way of stirring the lymph round. And if you're living on the juices at the same time as doing this, you're really going to have a huge detox. Then it's really important to be doing the colonics, because otherwise you're collecting all this rubbish that's going into the colon and sitting there and being reabsorbed. It's all very basic, really.
Yeah.
So when we start to move everything, flow like a river, you know, it's so healthy for the body.
Now, something that is constantly in the news, and we see that there's always a problem with this, it's obesity, Felicity. What can we do? What can we do for ourselves or even as parents to protect our child against obesity?
Well, I think the obesity has all happened in the last 50 years, 40 years. In America, we remember seeing huge people years ago, and Britain was still fairly slim. And then as we moved on to the processed foods, and we got onto the trans fats in particular, the trans fats, the processed foods, people started snacking on chemical foods, really, you know, processed foods that weren't out of the ground, like the onions and carrots. And people started really getting very toxic. And as they got toxic, the body's very clever, you see. The body says, right, we'll store that as fat to keep it away from the heart and keep it away from the lungs, which are the main organs that keep us going. So it's, you know, a great idea to put it away in another part of the body. So we get the fatness and the excess weight that just seems to go on to these areas. And so over the last, I would say, certainly 30 years, people have got much larger. And of course, the children are eating the same diet as their parents. Everyone's into the sugar drinks.
Yeah.
That's the biggest culprit, I think.
Something you just mentioned there is the children are eating the same diet as the parents. And I personally believe it's the parents that need to be setting the example for their children. First, if they start looking after their own health, then they can talk and explain to the children. Not only explain, but the children, whatever they see, they do, don't they? So if the parents are looking after their own health, then I'm sure that the children would be aware of this and do so for themselves.
That's right, and it's coming back to God's word, because although I was a nurse and I'd had my children and brought them up on the foods that my mother had brought me up on, I didn't realize about God's diet until I was really, really ill with pancreatic cancer, and suddenly realized, I was told by Emmy Wilson, this wonderful pastor at Holy Trinity Brompton, you know, go back to God's diet in Genesis. And I'm thinking, what's that?
Yeah.
And there it is, sitting there, you know, behold, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree with fruit with seed in it, and this will be to you as meat. And to every living thing I give green plant. So, you know, our broccoli and our spinach and all those beautiful green plants have been proven now by science to be the healthy way to go. And the wheatgrass, interestingly, you know, it has all the vitamins, all the minerals, and all the amino acids, so it makes the perfect protein.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this next VT, talking about obesity, just like as we've been discussing, and this is from Alleluia Acres. Let's take a look.
Americans eat a high-calorie, low-nutrient diet, one that couldn't be designed better to create a nation of obese, sick people full of cancer and heart disease.
Weight problems are much more common in North America than they are in Asia. And the reason almost certainly is diet. Our diets are simply different. If you look at Asian diets, they're based on plant foods. If they're eating animal products at all, it's little bits as flavorings.
Americans consume an extremely high amount of animal products. That's over 40% of the American diet. Animal products do not contain phytochemicals, bioflavonoids, antioxidants, all the vitamins and phytochemicals and nutrients that arm the immune system with the ability to fight cancer and heart disease too, are not found in animal products. And plus animal products are a rich source of animal protein and saturated fat. They're calorically dense. They have a lot of calories proportion size, and we can fit a lot of calories in the stomach at one time. They enable us to overeat very easily.
Hi viewers and welcome back. That clip there was from Hallelujah Acres, Felicity. Just to give us a brief overview, what is Hallelujah Acres?
Well, that's where I went to train first in America. It was in North Carolina in those days. And I had heard Dr. George Malkmus, he's a reverend doctor, and George actually was a Baptist minister for many years in New York. He had a very busy church, and suddenly he was diagnosed, as his mother had just died of colon cancer. He was actually diagnosed at 42 of colon cancer as well. And having seen what happened to his mother with all the chemo and the radiation, he decided not to go that route. And he prayed, he said, Lord, show me a better way because I'm doing your work. I want to continue to do this. And God put in his mind, there was an evangelist in Texas called Lester Roloff, and he was a great Bible preaching man and also considered a health nut in those days. And Lester Roloff was telling everyone to go back to God's diet. So anyway, George Malkmus went to stay with him for a few days, learned how to do this diet, which is the one that has become Hallelujah Acres.
Yeah.
George is now in his 80s and as fit as can be, you know, showing exercise and all kinds. He's really great, and married to the lovely Rhonda, who had had terrible arthritis, and they stuck with this diet really radically, and they both got completely well. So it's a wonderful story, and Hallelujah Acres is now being run by Paul, who is the son, and his wife Anne, who was actually there when I was there. She just arrived as well. So it's a family thing. They're lovely, lovely Christians, and it is giving all the glory to God, which I loved about it. So I met really interesting people. Loved training there. I was there about 6 weeks.
Now the beauty of the programs that we do, Felicity, is we're educating the viewers, but in a practical way, that things that they can do in their home. They don't have to go to travel the other side of the world to do so, to change their life, to change how things are, to remove all the toxins that have been accumulated in their body and system for the last years of their life, shall we say. Now, when we look at the diseases that are out there, we look at cancer, we look at all the other diseases that's out there, it all leads to nutrition or the foods that we're eating, isn't it?
Well, that's right. And the thing is, I try to provide something at a fraction of the cost that people can do at home. They can actually do it at home.
Yeah.
The only thing is you have to have the self-discipline and you have to be radical.
Yes.
And if you want to get well radically, you've got to be really radical.
Yeah, I mean, let me just give you, I'm sorry to stop you there, but it's something that we're doing at Revelation TV. We're doing this 28-day juicing. And it's a lot more motivating when you're doing it with the group. It's with the other staff members at Revelation. And it's far easier to keep it up because in a way you're motivating each other because there are temptations on the way. But you're encouraging each other, and that's a good way as well, isn't it?
And you can do it all at home. This is the great thing. You know, you can make your juices in the morning, bring them to the office with you, and really stick with it, try and get a bit of exercise. There we are. We have a bath at home. We have a shower at home. We can do all this stuff. And we have a colonic kit. You know, the colonic kit is half the price of having one hydrotherapist doing a proper colonic, you know, which is a big washout with water and a machine which puts water in, takes the water out with the waste. So that's about £80 to do that once. And you see, when I did the Gerson therapy myself, I was doing 5 colonics a day. So you couldn't possibly have done that at £80. In fact, these little kits are £40 and you got them for life.
Yeah.
So it's there for life. I'm still using the same kit I used 12 years ago.
If our viewers are unfamiliar with colonics, just explain briefly how does the process work?
Well, the thing is, we have this colon inside the body, about 5 foot of colon, which is really holding the waste until we can go and remove the waste. And unfortunately, people reabsorb a lot of the waste. If it sits in the colon, it's reabsorbed again into the body. So the whole idea of colonics is to wash out. It's just like washing your hands, washing your face. I mean, we would be pretty awful if we never had a bath. So we do bath every day, or we have a shower every day, but we haven't cleaned out the colon. And you can take laxatives and you can maybe think that you've cleaned out properly, but in fact, until you bathe out with warm water, all the convoluted problems that have got stuck in there over the years, you know, you're never going to really detox. So when I had pancreatic cancer and I was so ill, I started doing this. And after about a week, the most horrendous stuff started coming out of my body. You see, I grew up in South Africa. We ate a lot of meat. We also ate biltong, which the South Africans out there will recognize. Yeah. It's a dried meat. And I can only tell you that I saw my biltong again. And all this stuff starts to come out, but it takes weeks of doing colonics to actually loosen up this impacted stuff and remove it. And when you do, there goes your cancer. It goes out of the body. It's amazing. So the Gerson therapy does this in a big way. And again, people go there and they have the juices made for them. They have 13 juices in the day. So every waking hour, basically, you're having a beautiful juice. And you're doing 5 colonics, and that's a wonderful way to detox. And because my husband was so kind and made the juices for me and I did the colonics, I did manage to get well against all the odds. But how much easier to prevent disease in the first place.
Now, if our viewers are watching and they're saying, I want to check myself to see how healthy am I? Now, it's not necessarily that you have to be obese to be unhealthy, because people with a normal normal waistline, shall we say, they've also been polluting their body over the last number of years. What is the best way to measure their overall health?
Well, the pH balance is important as well. So, you know, the waist measurement for the ladies, 30 inches around the waist. For an adult, for the men, 35 inches around the waist is fine. Apart from that, if you get bigger than that, you're really pre-diabetic. But the pH is also important, and you can test your pH very easily with the little pH strips that you can buy off Amazon. And you test the urine and the saliva and see exactly where you are on the 1 to 14 scale, the pH scale. So that's important as well, because like our temperature, when we're a couple of degrees the wrong way, we feel extremely ill and die, actually, if you get too low or you go too high. The same thing happens with the pH. The potential of hydrogen. So again, we need to be in balance. You know, God has created these wonderful foods for us to eat. The beautiful fruits, the vegetables, the green plant in particular. And when we do live on those, we get back into what they call homeostasis. It's a balance of the body. And so our breathing, our elimination, our digestion, everything comes back into balance. And you begin to feel really good. And you begin to get energy back.
Now, going back to obesity and childhood obesity, Felicity, do you think the problem that we have at the moment is that the children are just not active enough right now? They're too busy with their computers, their mobile phones, and they're inside the house and not out smelling the fresh air, doing activities.
Oh, absolutely. That's right, because, you know, we've only had these computers and mobile phones a few years, really, a couple of decades. And so the children now are growing up in a completely different environment. And we were just sent outside to play, you know, especially in South Africa. You lived outside virtually. In fact, in the boarding school, which I was at, they had open dormitories at night. So you had, they were up on the second floor, but the windows, it was all just, the windows were taken right back. So you were breathing fresh air. And of course it's different in a place like South Africa, although the winters were cold. Yeah. But we're not getting enough fresh air, we're not getting enough exercise, and we tend to be eating the wrong things as well. And you know, sugar and sweets are given as a reward to children, and that's just the most stupid thing to...
The more sugar you give, the more obviously they're addicted they become, isn't it?
You want to give them a treat where they go out and do something fun, a sporting event, or you take them to see something they want to go and see. In Jersey, we have this wonderful Durrell Wildlife Center, and they've got bears and they've got flamingos and all kinds of animals there. And my grandchildren love to go there, and then they can run, and it's just lovely to see them out in the fresh air.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our next subject, where we're talking about caffeine and red meat. Let's take a look at this.
You know where you get your osteoporosis from? You want to know the reality of where it comes from and why I don't worry about it? You get it from caffeine and eating red meat. It leaches the good calcium out of your body with your urine. So all this caffeine that you're drinking on a consistent basis, all this red meat that you're eating, this is what's leaching the good calcium out of your bodies and creating the weaker bones. It's creating your weight gain. It's creating your skin conditions. It's creating just about everything that's going on in your body that's wrong. You could make such a huge difference. And you know the other thing that it does? It creates this excessive mucus in your digestive tract, so even if you eat properly, you're not getting the nutrients from your food. Most people are suffering from subclinical malnutrition and overeating. Everybody overeats. Everybody hold up your fist and look at it. Please, hold up your fist and look at it. This is the size of your stomach. It's a tiny little sac in here. It isn't this huge area to fill up 3, 4, 5 times a day. But eating and taking in this cow secretions on a consistent basis, you're always hungry and you're overeating. So the beauty of giving it up is you automatically start to release and get better quality from the foods you're eating, even if they aren't perfect foods. So if you were to leave today and make the commitment to yourselves to give it up for 1 week, I guarantee you, I actually make a promise, that you would start to look and feel differently. You would start to see a difference. Maybe the scale wouldn't change right away, but your body shape would start to change. Oh, and yeah, you may start to sneeze and cough. You may start to feel like you're getting a cold. But guess what? That's a good thing. You're not really getting a cold. Your body's doing what it's designed to do. It's getting rid of the excessive mucus. I always say, thank God there's no cure for the common cold, because everybody would be dead. That's your self-cleansing detox. That's your body getting rid of what it doesn't need. But what do? They give us chemicals. Hachoo. Give me a chemical to hold it in. Oh, nausea. Give me a chemical to hold it in. Diarrhea. Give me a chemical to hold it in. There's only so much room. So you allow your body to release what it doesn't need. And if you stop doing the cow secretions, you'd be so amazed. Your body shape would start to change. Everything would start to change. Your clarity. So you may be sitting there thinking, well, I only do a little bit of cream in my coffee, right? Well, here's the deal. If I put my car, which is a fuel not intended for there, it may not break down tomorrow, but it would eventually, because I'm putting a fuel in that doesn't belong there. So all I'm suggesting is try 1 week. Just some homework. 1 week. Go away today and try not doing cow secretions. And I promise you, you'll get a change, a positive change that you will recognize right away. So, and by the way, don't go, well, you know what, she made sense. I'm going to give it away, give it up forever. So since I'm giving it up forever, I'll just have this little piece. Make a commitment for 1 week, and I promise you, cause and effect, there's no way it can't work. You will look, you will feel, and you will think differently.
Hi there, viewers, and welcome back. Felicity, I think it's a fantastic comment that was made there during that last VT, is overeating is the problem. People sometimes tend to just eat too much, and therefore their appetite becomes bigger, and they're never quite satisfied with regardless how much they eat.
You see, the stomach expands and becomes bigger, and as she says, the fist is only this size. And this is a very good analogy, because obviously your fist is larger than my fist. And so, and a little child's fist, think how small that is.
Yeah.
And yet that is the size of their stomach.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got used to eating much bigger portions. It's interesting, our plates have got much bigger. I don't know if you probably haven't realized that, but I did, because when I first got married and you had dinner plates, and you had pudding plates and side plates, and everything now is much bigger.
Yeah.
Because people have got used to eating much bigger portions. So really, we have to come back to just filling this little area with good nutrition. And it's interesting because she talks about the cow secretion. She's talking about milk. And, you know, that was sort of sacrosanct, you know, in Jersey particularly, the wonderful creamy Jersey milk, which I was told was so good for me, builds strong bones and healthy teeth, you know. And it's quite the opposite, of course, because it's an acidity in the body and actually causes honeycombing in the bones. Because the calcium has to be drawn out of the bones to counteract the acidity of the milk. And I thought it was interesting also what she talked about, the colds are our detox. And so if you're getting a lot of colds, that's a sure sign you are very toxic.
Wow.
And I had no idea about that. When I was young, you know, getting lots of tonsillitis and bronchitis, and what were you given antibiotics every time?
Yeah.
What a disaster.
I would absolutely love to encourage our viewers out there to, if you've been eating the wrong diet for many, many years in your life and you want to make a change, I'd love to encourage you, make a change. Just try it for 1 week. Give yourself 1 week and see how you feel. Because I can tell you, since doing these programs, I've drastically changed my diet, Felicity. And what I've been very surprised in is how my appetite has changed, how full I am on such small quantities. It's the smaller quantities. And I've been doing a lot of more juicing as well. In the past, I'd be eating larger portions of food and you're never quite satisfied. But there's something in the juicing that really, really fills you up, gives you more energy, and you feel so much more better.
And you get younger as well, Si. That's an interesting thought, because for every 3 days you fast, you get a year younger.
Very good.
According to the guy we had on last week, do you remember?
Yes, again.
And so I've been counting up how long I've been fasting, and I'm probably getting down to about 25, I think. But you know, I have more energy now than I ever had when I was 25. Yeah. Because I was toxic from the antibiotics, from recurrent colds and flu and infections. You know, we were living a very unhealthy life.
Yeah.
We were very big on the dairy, the cheese, of course, meat. You didn't feel you'd had a proper meal unless you had meat.
Yeah.
You know, in those days it was very popular to go to a steak house. So we'd go to a steak house and you'd finish with coffee, of course. Yeah. I mean, I have lived this terrible diet all these years, and I'm so lucky, or so blessed by God, that he gave me a wake-up call 12 years ago, huge wake-up call. And I listened, and I did change, thanks entirely to Emmy Wilson, you know, who told me about the Genesis diet and about the apricot kernels and about getting myself well.
Do you think we have a problem that we sometimes say that our eyes are bigger than our stomach, as the saying goes? And when you look at how many fast food restaurants there are out there, how many buffet restaurants there are out there, where people just go to excess eat.
Yes, I mean, the thing is, they say you can eat as much as you want for 10 quid or whatever it is, you know. I mean, what a crazy thing, because of course any food that's commercially produced, they're going to be putting the cheapest ingredients in, obviously, to make the most money. Yeah. So when I go down now to the market, you know, farmer's market, and I buy 5 kilos of these beautiful oranges we're having today, 5 kilos for €3. Absolutely amazing.
And it's lovely. This orange is beautiful.
It's so refreshing, isn't it? It's so refreshing. And because, full of vitamin C.
That's something that people also say is, oh, I can't afford to eat healthy. I simply cannot afford to change my diet. What would you say about that?
I'd say they can't afford not to change their diet. Just as easy as that. Because sickness is very expensive. When we're off work, when we are unable to do the things we need to do for our family, you know, you soon get into a state of despair and despondency. So it's how much better to live on exactly the food God has told us to live on. And that Karen, who was on our last clip, you know, she's 65, she looks about 30. Yeah. She runs 4 big restaurants, raw food restaurants. What we need desperately is a raw food restaurant here. Yeah. Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Fantastic.
Because we are what we eat. In fact, we are what we assimilate. So you can eat something to fill you up. Yeah. But if it's not going to feed your cells, you're always going to be hungry. So I think the thing about the the juices that we're doing at the moment in the wheatgrass is that we're not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
Because at long last the body is getting what it needs, and that's why we feel the energy.
Now our viewers might be watching today and say, I would love to try one of those juices. I'm going to try it today. I'm going to see what this juicing is about. Just give an idea of a very simple recipe that our viewers can try today.
Well, I mean, this is just the pure orange juice that I've done today, and so I didn't even use the juicer for that. I had the citrus press, and I used to do it, you know, by hand, and now I've got a little press because I'm doing so many of these every day, because I'm living on the juices for the 28 days. I'm having soups as well, especially in the cold weather.
Yep.
I have a soup in the evening, but again, it's liquid and it's all fresh vegetables.
Very good.
So I don't think that that matters at all. In fact, if you were at the Gerson therapy, you would be having the 13 juices a day, plus you would have 3 vegetable meals.
It's incredible.
So you don't have to starve yourself. You don't. In fact, it's very bad for you to do that, because if people are really ill with cancer or diabetes or heart disease, in fact, their immune system is right on the ground, and you've got to get the living enzymes in to restore that deficiency of the plant food.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
We've got another VT prepared now. That's talking how to make tahini, Felicity. Explain, what is tahini?
Well, it's really important. It's made from the sesame. And we're going to talk about hummus as well, which is chickpeas. So all these beautiful seeds, you know, God said the seeds, the nuts, as well as the fruit and the vegetables. And so this is where the nuts and the seeds come in. I think most people are used to pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds. And this is a lovely way of making a delicious spread, which is really important to have a variety of different foods. So I make the flaxseed crackers, and we make the buckwheat bread as well, buckwheat and chia bread. And then this beautiful tahini is something that you can spread on top.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this. This is how to make tahini. Let's take a look.
Hi everyone, welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Today I'm going to make a very simple tahini sauce. I know often people need it to make hummus or tahini dressings, and it's very easy to make yourself, so here's how. Okay, first things first, we need a nice solid bottom pan which you'll heat up on the stove and get nice and warm. Then we're going to take 1 cup of sesame seeds and just pour them into the pan. Now we want to toast these off in the pan. I don't want to burn them, but I do want to encourage the oil to start coming out of these seeds. And some people roast these to their dark and have a darker tahini sauce, but most recipes you want the lighter sauce, so we don't want to overcook them. Okay, now I've got myself a blender, and there's a good reason I'm using a blender, guys. I've tried this with food processors. A lot of people film it with food processors. It just doesn't work. The seeds end up not breaking down properly. My blender does this wonderfully. So we put those sesame seeds into the blender. And I'm also going to add just under 1/4 cup of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. On with the lid. So you may need to stop after a moment and just knock down any of the whole seeds into the mix. Now guys, trust me, at first it feels like it won't go, but they do eventually go. I'm just getting all the natural oils out of the sesame seeds. Now trust me guys, I've added no more liquid into that. That's all the oils coming out of the sesame seed and that little bit of olive oil we added in there. And you can see this time round that you can see a lovely smooth paste starting to form. It won't take much more than another minute or 2 before it be completely finished. And now I'm just pouring the tahini into a jar, ready for storage. I mean, that will last for a good few weeks. And there you have it, guys. There is fresh homemade tahini, ever so simple. All you've got is sesame seeds, a little bit of olive oil. Making your own is so much better than buying it from the shops. It tastes better, you know what goes in it.
Hi viewers, and welcome back. That's fantastic. You can making your own food. It's just like they mentioned on the VT there. If you make your own food, tastes good, and you know exactly what's gone in it.
And it's much cheaper as well. Much cheaper. And it smells wonderful when you're toasting those sesame seeds. It really smells great. So you could try that with Chanel. She'd love that.
What can we eat with tahini? What goes alongside that?
Well, as I say, the flaxseed crackers are great. You can get rice crackers as well, which you can buy. And that's quite a good way to start if you're not into making the flaxseed crackers yet. So The rice crackers are delicious, and you need something crisp as well as having the juices. You know, you need to have a variety, a creamy food, a crisp food, a lovely liquid food. And you know, once you get onto all this, you don't really want to go back to the cooked food at all. When I see people eating fish, people eating meat in a restaurant, you know, I just think, I don't even want to have that. And the best protein in the body, because everyone says, oh, where do you get your protein from, you know? The best protein in the world is from the spinach, the broccoli, and the vegetables. So, and the B12, if you do need to do a supplement B12, you can do that, because there is a lot of B12 in the meats. But of course, you also have the pollution in the meat as well, and the fat. So the thing is to get your B12 as a supplement. And everyone is short of B12 at the moment. Everyone, whether they're meat eaters or not. So I think it's really good to supplement, you know, always test, have a little blood test, see where you are on all these B vitamins. We need a B complex.
Yeah.
And as we, you know, we've been through all the B vitamins, the B3, the niacin is particularly good for people with depression. And the B...
Because that's something, you know, you just, sorry to disturb you, Felicity, you've mentioned depression. Now, depression is so much, it's very much influenced from the foods that we're eating. That really does affect our mental state, doesn't it?
Well, if you are malnourished, and that doesn't mean you're not having enough to eat, but you're having the wrong things to eat, then you will be depressed. There's no doubt about it, because the brain needs these nutrients to work properly and to be in balance. So I've had people with bipolar and schizoid people, you know, with schizophrenia, with all kinds of, but mainly depression. People just feel so low, especially at this time of year when they're not out in the sunshine, not getting out, getting exercise. And if you are living on the wrong foods, then you will be depressed, that's for sure.
What are your thoughts? Now, we do talk about juicing. Today we're talking about doing the juicing and the 28-day juicing fast and the feast. Now, people might think, what do? I don't fancy juicing all day, every day. Is it enough to just, at least if you have one juice maybe in the morning to start your day? Is that good enough?
I mean, it's a great start. The thing is, it's a journey. And if people start with one juice in the morning and they have maybe another juice in the evening, but just start with one, and it's amazing the difference it'll make in the body. And then you probably want to do more. And what I do is have a lot of soups as well, and especially in the cold weather, because it's really cold in the UK at the moment, and it's been cold here as well at night. So I have a lovely hot soup. I'll have a baked potato in its jacket. I'll have a baked sweet potato, which I love as well. And a curry, of course. A curry is very warming. So you have a vegetable curry and brown rice, and put some chutney with it. Why not? Wonderful, wonderful. You know, I love my herbs, and my beautiful herb garden. You've given me that, such a joy, up in the eagle's nest there, because I can add the herbs as well. Yeah. And you know, the hot drink I have with the honey, the lemon, the ginger, and the little sprig of mint on the top. I've just made a little clip of that, and it's such fun to be drinking these wonderful nutrients. You know, the ginger gingers you up, as they say.
Very good, yeah.
And if the lady's having babies at the moment, you know, and you're feeling a bit sick, then and anyone with any kind of nausea, of course, the ginger's wonderful.
Okay, well, we've just taken a look at our last VT talking about how to make tahini. Let's take a look at our final one. This is how to make hummus. Let's take a look. No. That's not the clip.
Need the hummus one.
Hello.
Hi everyone, welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Today I'm going to make a very simple tahini sauce. I know often people need it to make hummus or tahini dressings.
Guys,
the second one.
Hello.
To make yourself, so here's how. Okay, first things first, we need a nice solid bottom pan which you'll heat up on the stove and get nice and warm. Then we're going to take 1 cup of sesame seeds and just pour them into the pan. Now we want to toast these off in the pan. I don't want to burn them, but I do want to encourage the oil to start coming out of these seeds. And some people roast these to their dark and have a darker tahini sauce.
Okay, we've just seen that clip, so anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, Hummus
Right.
is something that would
The
it's very good to
hummus
make.
is with the chickpeas. So you can use a can of chickpeas, and you use the tahini paste that we've just seen him make. So you would add the tahini paste, a quarter of a cup of tahini paste, a quarter of a cup of lemon juice, and blend it again as he showed. Put in half a clove of garlic. I love garlic. Do you like garlic? It tastes wonderful. And 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or coconut oil, of course, some Himalayan salt, and blend it. You blend that really well, and then you'll add in the can of chickpeas or fresh chickpeas, and then process them and add a little water if you want to thin it out a bit, and garnish with a little more oil and paprika, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. So it's a wonderful dip. Now you can eat the dip with the crudité, what we call crudité, which is cut up cucumbers, tomatoes, little bits of salad really, and lettuce leaves. So you can put the sauce on top of those, and you'll have a lovely meal. It's really filling, and I think you'll enjoy that very much. Sorry we didn't get the right clip. Maybe have they got the right clip? No, not.
No, don't worry about it.
Don't
We'll
worry
just talk
about it. I've told you, and if you want to know, just email me, and I will put the. I will give you the recipe. I'll put it on my website. I think that's probably the best.
I think we're blessed with the wonders of the technology out there at the moment as well. I think we need to be making the most of that. For example, you look at YouTube. Most of the VTs and clips that we show on our programs, they're from YouTube, and we're very spoilt in that way, aren't we? We can literally find an ingredient, say, how do you make this, blah 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 recipe, and you've actually got the whole video recipe step by step of how to make it.
So much easier. And when I got married, you were given a copy of Mrs. Beeton's cookbook. You've probably never heard of that, but this went back to a long time ago, of course, when I was young. And Mrs. Beeton, you know, you had this book and you had to keep it in the kitchen, and it got covered with butter and flour and everything else. But now it's so much easier. You can watch these things maybe on your phone.
That's it.
As you're doing it, and it's so much easier to see someone do it than read lots of instructions.
Yeah.
So I'm gathering together a really lovely cookbook. You know, it's not a cookbook; it's a raw food book, actually, recipes. So www.hippocratesineurope.com, my website. People can go on there, get my newsletter, because I put a lovely recipe every month on my newsletter, and a lovely new juice. And I'm just building up this recipe book with delicious raw living food, like the hummus, like the guacamole, like gazpacho, all my favorite things. And it's fun to.
I mean, you look at gazpacho. It's such an easy ingredients, isn't it?
Fabulous, fabulous, and the avocados are so good for us. You know, David Wolfe is called David Avocado Wolfe because he just has avocados all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely thing to do if you go out to a restaurant and you wonder, what can I eat that isn't going to kill me here?
Yeah, but it's something that...
Have an avocado.
It's wonderful having all these recipes and very easy food. There's nothing too complicated, and it's something that the children can get involved with as well, isn't it?
And they love that. They love being involved, and they love juicing. They love mixing things up, like stirring up those sesame seeds that we were doing, you know, because the smell is wonderful.
Yeah.
And they're interested to see what's happening. And instead of watching, you know, TV or watching, you know, the iPad, the thing, most of these children have got an iPad, and they're just sitting there playing with the iPad. It's so incredibly bad for them. So when they come to me, we have fun. We're very active. We're in the kitchen. We're doing things, or we're, you know, going out on the beach. And I think that's the joy. This is the fun, actually, of being a grandparent, because you can have much more fun with the little grandchildren, because you tended to be a bit strict with your own children, trying to make them do all the right thing.
Yeah.
And so they rebelled, as we all did. And so with the grandchildren, there's this wonderful gap of being able to have more of a fun relationship.
Very good. I want to ask you, Felicity, we've been doing our program now for the last couple of years. Just give us an idea of some of the testimonies that you've had of how this program has benefited some of our viewers.
Oh, incredible. I mean, I've even got some here that I was going to do in the emails. There was a lady called Ruth who came to me. Hello, Ruth, if you're out there. So many And they tend to become friends because, you know, when you spend a week with someone, and I've been showing them all the juicing and explaining how I got well and how they can get well, you tend to form very strong bonds. And so I've got people who have got well, and it's nothing to do with me, it's what I've taught them, which is all God's word. The first thing probably is trusting God, relaxing, not being in such a state of anxiety, and then coming back to the right foods, coming back to some exercise, coming back to the skin brushing. So yeah, I mean, diabetes will go in a week, and people have been told by their doctors, oh, you know, you're diabetic, you're going to be on this stuff for the rest of your life. People with psoriasis, for instance, with eczema, with asthma, on the inhalers, and you know, you're given stronger and stronger drugs, and so you get more and more side effects, and then you need another drug to counteract that side effect. And when people will be radical, when they'll come back to the lovely fresh things, you know, the oranges, the pears, the apples, the avocados, the onions, the garlic, when they will come back to that, they do heal. So there's people walking today who weren't walking before. People got up out of bed, you know, they've had ME, even people with MS, as we've seen that Dr. Walls, you know, Dr. Terry Walls, who was in a wheelchair and suddenly realized that all the drugs were not the way to go. And she did her scientific research, came back, of course, to God's word. It's all there in the Bible. We don't need to be doctors to learn all this. And so I'm a Doctor of Divinity, as you know, and I'd much rather be a Doctor of Divinity because then I'm free to say exactly what I know to be true, and I'm not bound by Big Pharma and bound by regulations as to what you can teach and what you can't teach. When we come back to God's word, of course, we heal in every way, body, mind, and spirit.
And what about exercise? How important is that? Should we be active, Felicity?
It's absolutely vital. We're supposed to be, you know, gardeners or fishermen, or we're supposed to be out there working. We're not supposed to be sitting at our computers. And as I've said, we could get that treadmill desk and we could be walking as we're on our computers. And I mean, when you're with me in the car, you know, you're on your phone all the time, and we're just so pressured, aren't we? We're so pressured for time.
It's amazing how our lifestyle, how our life has changed since the technology has come into our lives. It seems that we have less time for ourselves in the way, because we've got a mobile phone with us, we've always got a laptop, we've got a tablet, we're in communication 24 hours a day. And it'd be interesting to monitor, how was life like, or were people less stressed 20 years ago before the introduction of mobile phones?
I can tell you they were much less stressed, and although my husband had a stressful job years ago, it was nothing like the stress my son goes through now, because he's a lawyer and everyone wants everything done immediately. You know, a law, a trust or something used to take weeks to set up, and now people want it done, you know, they want it done within 24 hours. And he has a team of lawyers who work under him, but he is still the one who's ultimately responsible. So if anyone makes a mistake, it comes back on him. And the stress is horrendous. And he almost got to the stage where he won't have a holiday, because it's such a business to catch up with everything that's gone on while he was away, that it's almost better to just go to a spa for a day, but you know, keep your mobile phone on.
Very quickly, just advise our viewers, what can they do to remove and reduce the stress in their lives? Well,
you see, I believe you have to say your prayers, you have to take time out, and like this beautiful tallit, the Jewish people put this over their head and they pray, they shut out the world, as Jesus said, go into your quiet place, and we should pray several times a day, and we should just get back to the real truth of what matters. And necessarily answering all the emails is not perhaps the most important. It's trusting in God.
Okay, Felicity, we have come towards the end of today's programme. Thank you as always for your very inspiring words. Thank you also to our viewers. Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to encourage you to change your lifestyle, change your diet, change the way that you see things and you do things in your life. Try the juicing challenge. Just try it for 1 week. Honestly, see how you feel. Thank you so much as always, viewers. Love to see you next time. God bless. Bye.